Hi, welcome to the Punctuation Workshop, video 2. So don't worry, there are only 3 more punctuation marks that I'm going to teach you, so we can, this video will be much shorter than the previous one. So, regarding dashes, and this is what's a little tricky, dashes, unlike hyphens, dashes are longer, so it's still that middle horizontal line, but it's just a longer middle horizontal line. When do you use a dash? And to be frank, dashes are rarely used. For some reason, they just aren't common in most people's writing, but you do find it quite a bit in fiction and literature and whatnot. I think, again, people maybe just don't know when to use it. So with a dash, why would you use it? Maybe to set off parenthetical elements, meaning like non-essential information. So sometimes you read a sentence and you're given extra information that is, hey, that's nice to know, but it wasn't really very vital to the sentence. So that's when you would use these dashes. In other words, here's an example. While Sandy, a feisty youth, liked Brad Pitt, Mark preferred Sam Elliott. So a feisty youth to describe Sandy, is that important? No. Not really. It's cool. It's nice. It's descriptive, but it's non-essential. And so you would surround the non-essential information with the dashes. The other reason to use a dash is to kind of like indicate an abrupt break or change of thought. Like you're going down the road on the sentence one way, and then all of a sudden you want to careen and go the other way. So Sam likes Savannah. No, he loved her. So you're going down the path and you say, well, he liked her, but now it's kind of an abrupt change of thought and say, no, he loved her. And that would have that dash. The next one is the parentheses. And like the dashes, it is to set off non-essential information. So Stephen was a movie buff, which suited Saul just fine. Do we need to know that? Not really. What's most important is that Stephen is a movie buff to the sentence. Thus, we put the parentheses on the outside of the non-essential information. So it's similar, right? You would have parentheses around the non-essential information. You could have dashes around non-essential information, or you could even have commas. You could have commas around non-essential information. So it really just depends on which punctuation you want to use for clarity's sake. Another reason you might have the parentheses is to enclose appositives, and again, for clarity. So while Sandy, a feisty youth, liked Brad Pitt, Mark preferred Sam Elliott. So again, this is describing or giving information as regards to who's Sandy, like who is this Sandy? It's that feisty youth over there. That's going to be put off with the parentheses. Okay, lastly, the last one, quotation marks. So quotation marks are obviously, again, you're probably most used to. Why do you use it? It's because you're quoting somebody saying something, right? You want to have a direct quote of somebody's words. You want to relay the information exactly as it was given. In that instance, you would go ahead and use the quotation marks around the quoted material. Be careful that if you have a tagline, you have the comma in front of the quoted material in preceding it. Then if you have maybe the quote first and then the tagline, you're going to want the comma to be inside of the quotation marks. The next reason is sometimes you might have a quote within a quote, so you're quoting something that is quoting something else. If that's the instance, then you're going to want to put just a single quote mark around the quoted material, as it were, and then you have your double quote marks around the whole or the entirety of the quotation. Another reason that you would use quotation marks is maybe around slang or technical terms or maybe special words that you want to provide emphasis. So example here, the Oxford English Dictionary roughly defines a symbol as something that has meaning beyond its literal definition. Well, you want to indicate, well, what is the exact word out of all the words in the sentence? What is the word that is being looked up or defined in the dictionary? And that word is symbol, hence the quotation marks. And then dialogue. You want to put quotation marks around dialogue. The last reason would be around titles of short works. So remember, long works get the italics, but short works gets the quotation marks. So a short work would be maybe just a short essay or a song or a poem or articles. So in this example, Senna often read Edgar Allan Poe's poem, Annabel Lee. So that's the title of a short poem, Annabel Lee, and that gets the quotation marks. All right, so let's go ahead and practice. Let's do some. So number 1, the universe, random and unfeeling, can often give someone the doldrums. So random and unfeeling, that's describing the universe, right? It's non-essential information. It's nice, but it's not really needed. So let's go ahead and put the dash here, though we could have used the parentheses. To create the dash, all you have to do is hit the hyphen button twice, and then pick a letter and hit the space bar. You see how now it inserts it? And that's different than just having two hyphens next to each other. So that's the trick with Word. Hit the hyphen button twice, give it a letter, hit the space bar, and it converts it into the dash. We cannot, said Mr. Horde, in all honesty, charge an unfair price. So we cannot, that's probably where that quote starts. So we cannot, and remember if the quote is here and the tagline's there, the comma goes on the inside, said Mr. Horde, in all honesty, charge an unfair price. Okay, Lucy was a charming girl. Well, actually, she was a brat. This is a change in thought. So we're going to go ahead and use the dash again here, an abrupt change of thought. Well, actually, she was a brat. I read an article, and the article is Living to Please Yourself, and it was a great read. So living to please yourself, this is a short article, so we're going to surround that by quotation marks. Number 5, but do not let us quarrel anymore, said Robert Browning in a famous poem. So again, the start is going to be but do not, and quotation marks, you're quoting something, said Robert Browning. So anymore, this probably should have had a comma there, sorry, and then the quotation mark. Dante explained, Jefferson said, our rights are our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So this is somebody quoting somebody. So Dante explained about this. This is where the quote begins. Jefferson said, what did he say? It starts at our rights, so we use the single. Our rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So now we want to end the quote within a quote with a single, but then we have to end the whole quote with a double. So that's when you get 3. So if you ever noticed something that was quoted and it had 3, and you say, how does that happen? That's why it would happen, a quote within a quote. All right, to end and conclude this video, this last page is practice. We all need practice. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and practice everything that you've learned, all the punctuation that you have learned. Some of these sentences might need multiple punctuation corrections. So please don't just find one and then assume that it's done. Try and make sure that you have a grammatically correct sentence and it includes all the punctuation that it needs. Thank you very much for taking this workshop.